What is an adult problem nobody prepared you for? Story 1. Almost all of your friends won't be lifelong. No one really talks about how common it is to lose touch with people or grow apart. Most of your life will be spent either making new friends while losing old ones or being alone. Story 2. I'm closer to 50 than 40. Would have been nice to be better prepared for some of the ways your body starts to change at this point that don't normally get talked about. For instance, your teeth will start to shift from general aging of your gums. Story 3. Not having a predefined goal once I was out of college. Growing up, my goals were set for me: get through elementary school, then middle school, then high school, and get into college and get a degree, then get a job, and then, vague, advance in your career, buy a house, find a spouse, have a kid or multiple, then retire. At 22, I had no idea how to break that down more granularly. Until then, the biggest choice I had to make was my college major. Even my choice of school was mostly determined by scholarships and location, and then I had to find and choose a job all by myself, and then decide for myself when to leave it and find another. It was overwhelming. Story 4. Lack of purpose. All your young life you are given purpose of passing exams and learning, then all of a sudden you are thrown into the world and told to find your own meaning. Story 5. Figuring out what makes you happy. Everyone keeps trying to get you to do things you're good at, or that makes you money, but never to pursue what you enjoy. Story 6. You are held to account for bad behavior for which you are negligent even if you had no intention to cause harm. As a lawyer, I see this all the time. People don't think they're responsible for mistakes. You are. Story 7. My parents worked full-time jobs and our house was still clean. Our laundry was clean. We had a full meal on the table every night. My mom did all that. My dad did all the stereotypical man role stuff like fixing and laboring, but my mom kept that house running while she worked full-time. We have kids and full-time jobs and a big house, and I cannot keep up. I get a meal on the table every night because the children have to eat, but the rest gets so out of hand so fast. Today I said to my kids we need to get this house cleaned up this evening when we get home, and one said we just did that yesterday. Yeah dude, you've been busy living your best 7-year-old life. Story 8. Why do so many things require different kinds of soap? Shampoo, hair soap, body wash, body soap, toothpaste, tooth soap, laundry detergent, clothes soap, dishwasher, special soap, washing dishes by hand, another special soap, mopping floor soap, carpet cleaner, carpet soap, washing my car soap. I am always buying soap. Story 9. This may just be because I'm on the spectrum, but networking for jobs. My parents had the same job since I was born, so I never saw them or anyone else look for one that wasn't a temporary job for a college student, so I didn't know. I thought hard work would basically show employers I was worth hiring, and despite burning myself out, I still lost out to people with half my ability, because they were more sociable was baffling to me for a long time. Story 10. One adult problem nobody prepared me for is how expensive everything is. I always thought that as an adult I would be able to afford the things I wanted, but it turns out that's not always the case. I've had to learn how to budget and save up for the things I want, and it's been a difficult process. Story 11. Chin hairs. They are an obsession. I tweeze them in a magnifying mirror several times a day. Nobody told me females would have to deal with this. I feel like the bearded lady some days. Story 12. You may have heard from your older relatives that when you get older, it'll be your turn to take care of them. You never really understand just how much it takes until you're in that position. Story 13. Planning meals. It's such a chore to feed yourself every day. Planning your meals, budgeting meals, and making sure you like it and don't get sick of the same meal because it was tasty and easy to make. Story 14. As a kid, I was taught, if you work hard, you can buy a house and move out once you're 18. I wish I could tell little me that isn't gonna happen anytime soon, huh? Story 15. How did I never notice that there was dust everywhere? I swear to go I turn around from dusting and there's more dust. I can't keep up with our house. We are 2 adults and a dog. Dining room is in constant disarray because that's where we let the dog go outside. Amazon packages pile up. Why am I so tired? We SRE 26 and 32. Story 16. How easy it is to feel stuck in a bad situation, job, relationship, etc. just because the cost and effort of getting out can seem daunting. And sometimes you just have to accept a figurative bowl full of because you can't afford to blow up your life. Story 17. Daughter with behavioral and mental issues. Then she got pregnant at 16. It was a roller coaster ride, very trying, and about kicked my husband had esophageal cancer and then 9 years later had 14 brain lesions. Both times his survival rate was low, but he's still here. Feel like I've been in survival mode for years and years. I'm kinda tired now. Story 18. Depression as an adult. At least as a kid you get healthy amounts of attention and love, and as a teenager you get to have a group of people to spend time and look away. Being on your own in that abyss really is something I could have never envisioned. Story 19. That once you are stable your life is Groundhog's Day. Every day is basically the same. Same person I already married, same house I already have and already decorated, same job every day, same foods over and over, same shows and movies and songs. Boring, and sometimes I have a crazy spell because I just can't stand it. Dysphoria sucks. Story 20. Imposter syndrome. And then realizing that likely every expert or professional you've ever really trusted also probably has imposter syndrome and knows much less than you think they do. This became very apparent to me during the pandemic when I realized that our governments and our medical professionals don't have all the answers and we're all just figuring things out as we go. Story 21. That people will actively work against their own interests and or the interests of society. Growing up, you look at well-adjusted adults and think, wow, these people know what's going on and will help us all get to a better place. Now, you realize there are a bunch of really stupid folk out there. Edit maybe stupid isn't the right word, more proper to say willfully ignorant or malicious. Story 22. I was unprepared for how much taxes reduce your retirement. We spend roughly $1,000 monthly between taxes and insurance, just to own stuff we already paid for. You'll never live anywhere free. Our system is designed against it. Story 23. I thought for a long time that 65 was a magic age you could stop working and get a lot of money that you had never saved, like the government just gave it to you. Of course Social Security is like that, except for the lot part. Story 24. Being judged for what I do with my hard-earned adult money. Also the feeling of walking in a room and being seen as the adult. My mind isn't prepared to be the one the answers. Story 25. Having to care for yourself when you're sick. I was 19, roommate was away for the weekend, and I had the most awful stomach virus. Nobody around to help. Story 26. That no one gives a how smart you are. As a kid, everyone makes it sound like you're set for life if you're smart. No, you're set for life if you have a good work ethic, know how to stay motivated, and are fairly smart. That's when you make happen. Being too smart too early can actually impede you. I didn't figure this out completely until I was almost 30, and now at 34 I'm just starting to really hit my stride. My whole childhood, through high school and even most of college, I could do no studying and still get A's and B's, and everyone told me how I was going to be so successful and it was so great that I was so smart. But I never had to work hard, so I never learned to. And guess what? Companies looking to hire you do not GAF if you're smart. They care that you can do the job and do the job well and have the potential to grow. Story 27. Losing making friends after you've outgrown the bar scene. Also, the amount of friends you lose after getting married was a shocker too. They just stop inviting you out or even over to their houses. Story 28. All of it together. I was relatively warned about how high rent is, car bills and repairs, how buying healthy food is expensive as but important for your health, how to exercise and save what you can. My parents did their best to fill in my knowledge about taxes and healthcare and insurance that my schooling missed, about driving and cleaning a household, about setting boundaries at work but working hard and getting ahead if you can, about charity and what it means to take care of a pet and others, about being a good partner if you were lucky enough to have one, about how dark and messed up the world is when you just read the news and what all that means to me and my community. I was reasonably warned about all of it. No one could have ever prepared me for how hard doing all of it at the same time and keeping your head above that water would actually be. Story 29. Other adults are dumb as and insufferable. It's worse than middle school and high school and college. It gets worse. Old boomers completely delusional on the modern world, is what I'm saying. Edit. I don't hate boomers, they have good qualities as well, but many I've met seem to be very stubbornly delusional. Story 30. My dad killed himself 3 days after my 31st birthday, and I still had to wake up and be a mother and a functional human being. Still have to, there is no preparing for that. Story 31. The whole thing, to steal that One Tree Hill quote. One day you're 17 and you're planning for someday, and then quietly without you ever really noticing, someday is today, and then someday is yesterday, and this is your life. Story 32. Being 60 years old and still having to deal with people that act were still in high school. I can't stand backbiting and temper tantrums. And it seems even worse from 50 and 60-year-olds. It's embarrassing and I thought it would end, but apparently drama never ends. Story 33. Nobody prepared me for how much it hurts when your friends all start turning inwards towards families and babies, and don't have time for you anymore. You wish them all well, but sometimes you find yourself mourning the loss of what was. And of course you have to act excited at a pregnancy announcement, even when inside you're thinking, oh no, not another one. Story 34. Cleaning door handles and light switches. Somehow I never saw my parents do it growing up, and when you think about it, it's obvious. However, I just never even thought of it. Cue me moving out and wondering about half a year later why there were small weird marks on my bedroom door handle and bathroom door handle. Story 35. Echo chambers. Watching someone live a life of it's this way or nothing and have the ability to jump into a chat room or website and verify their thoughts based on whatever they want to hear, like actively searching for verification and not considering looking into opposing arguments. It's absolutely rampant. Story 36. Your bills are wrong. Someone counted wrong or forgot to file a form, and now you must pay hundreds of € extra for electricity unless you get on the phone and argue with a stranger before 5 p.m. today. Story 37. So much maintenance. Dust, sweep, vacuum, mop, countertops, clean out the fridge, hand wash dishes, load dishwasher, unload dishwasher, clean windows, clean mirrors, trash, wash laundry, dry laundry, put away laundry, get groceries, put away groceries, make breakfast, make lunch, make dinner. Story 38. That the dream we were told to believe is a lie. I was promised graduate, get a job, get money, get love, be happy, retire, die. First step was easy, second step was a little bumpy, third step was really bumpy. I found out in step 1 that step 4 was optional and am completely lost on step 4, 5, 6 and might skip to step 7. Story 39. The car buying process and how every single dealership is trying to screw you. Understand what an APR is and pay attention to all the paperwork they try to give you. And always bring a car to a mechanic who can give it a real look over and let you know what the dealer is trying to hide. The dealer is always trying to hide something. Story 40. That no matter how old or successful you get, You always feel like you are just winging it. I am convinced that nobody knows what they are doing and are just rolling with the punches on a daily basis. Story 41 that very few answers are obvious. We always learn the black and white answers. But as an adult you quickly learn that many issues are very ambiguous and there is no amount of preparation or research that will get you a 100 answer. Many decisions you make could have long-term effects that cannot be determined, and you wind up making a lot of educated guesses and hoping it works out. Story 42 Everything. I was a sheltered child and my parents both had the opinion of well nobody taught me these things so nobody has to teach Chibi Monkey. Shall figure it out. This ranged from cooking, cleaning, and laundry to things like driving my at-the-time boyfriend taught me, applying for jobs and interviewing, taxes, rent, health issues, even simple things how much work is really involved with a pet. Almost everything I've learned about adult life I've had to research myself. I don't always understand what I'm reading, and I've gotten over more than once, currently trying to figure out disability and welfare. The kicker, most of the things I listed most but not all my parents learned in school, they didn't teach any of that in my school. Story 43 Buying IKEA furniture, spending all that time building it, then realizing it doesn't match your decor at all, and sweat smelling worse for some reason. Story 44 Watching many of your adult friends' lives begin to revolve solely around their kids, and less around interests or hobbies you have in common with them. Story 45 How do you make adult friends? Like I moved away from all my childhood friends and making friends with adults is a different beast. Lost in the sauce over here. Story 46 Depression. When I was a kid I assumed it would go away once my situation got better, but there are still instances where it rears its ugly head. Especially with COVID the emotional struggle is real. Story 47 Living alone. A lot of my food went to waste. I didn't have the time or the appetite to eat it all. Everything is designed for multi-person homes. I had to get creative to ensure my food and money didn't go to waste. Story 48 Children. My family was an abusive household, both physically and mentally. I really struggled at times not to pass that forward because I felt my children deserved not to have to live through it. What really opened my mind was driving home from work one night. Adam Carolla on Loveline told a caller that their job as a parent was to raise a young human being, not another up version of themselves. My kids are in their 30s and are better people than I am. Story 49 LPT Make friends with the cranky gatekeeper who hates everyone. It takes a lot of work, lots of compliments, lots of time asking them how they are doing and listening, small favors, being self-sufficient and pointing it out to them, but it will make your workplace much easier. I know someone is going to slam me for this, but whatever, it works and it's not that hard. Those people are usually very unhappy and your attention is a kindness that works both ways, ultimately. Story 50 TBH I think a lot of us are over-prepared and need to learn to give less of a, what I never learned and still struggle is the why, because I try to fit in a societal reason for why instead of just making why whatever I feel like. Story 51 I wish school would have been more focused on teaching students about proper management of finances, rather than wasting years of my life learning certain math I've never used once outside of school or unnecessary details of history I've completely forgotten about. Story 52 Mostly an adult problem: skin cancer. Get those shady looking moles and spots checked. Maybe even schedule a yearly check with a dermatologist. Melanoma is a sneaky SOB and has no mercy. Story 53 Physical ailments that I thought would start closer to my mid-century point actually started in my 20s. I'm 30 years old and would say I have ailments I thought I'd not start to have until maybe 45: a saw joint, a bad back. I was speaking with some friends recently and they had similar issues and were similarly surprised that they'd come about so early in life. We're all in good shape. Story 54 Dropping out of high school sounds like a great idea, and the school system will even help you through the process without telling you it's a horrible idea. I regretted my decision like a month after I left, and I eventually had to save up the money later on to go back through online schooling. It's a giant inconvenience. But when you're a stressed-out teenager who dealt with bullies on a normal basis, I didn't think it dragged me down any further than I was already. Story 55 Being a man in a world where you have to have a stone exterior and provide and do more than expected, and when you feel like opening up you get told to be a man or it up like I'd like to able to relax and say exactly how I feel and be comfortable with that, but being a man has made us shaped into a mold that society continuously expects. Story 56 Your kids dying before you do. Lost both my kid sister and brother, 29-30 to suicide less than 7 months apart just recently, like 2 days ago recently. Story 57 How stressful trying to have a baby is. Not only is there the stress of trying, waiting, every day you're wondering if it took this month, and then there's the fact that we spend so many years fearing getting pregnant accidentally, then we're expected to flip a switch and just be excited about it. Story 58 How many men think it's okay to creep on teenage girls or barely legal girls, or how ready men are to protect other men who do despicable things to women. This is a man's world.